Astro friends. It's Melanie on April 1st, 2026, with the Astro Weather for the week starting today and going until April 7th. So, of course, we are talking about the pink pre Easter full moon in Libra, Aries, that happens this evening. That's the main attraction of the week. And what's with that full moon energy? What's with the entourage, as I like to say, of the full moon energy field and alignments themselves? And how can we be a best expression of what's going on as above, so below? So here is the chart for the full moon. As you see here, 7:12 p.m., 7:12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time, we will have the exact full moon just before moonrise. So we'll have at moonrise, when the moon comes up in the eastern horizon, we will have almost exactly at the same time fullness. And this full moon here is creating a strong counterbalance, Libra, to so much going on here in this whole segment from early Pisces, or let's include Pluto, from early Aquarius over to early Taurus. Late Taurus, sorry, I'm reading backwards. Okay, so from early Aquarius to late Taurus, with Pluto in Aquarius and the Aquarius ruler Uranus in Taurus here, barely still in Taurus until the 25th of April. Countdown next 24 days. So this is huge, right? And the moon in Libra is doing her best to balance it out, literally Libra. And we have also a T-square. So we have this opposition of Sun and Moon, and of course everything else. And we have right between them, very exact, Jupiter in mid-Cancer, together with a bright star Sirius, which is also in mid-Cancer. So getting a little sense of this energy field and of the pattern, so to say. Let's talk what all this means and how we can be in alignment with it. It's always, of course, the notion with astrology to be in alignment with the cosmic energy field rather than fighting it, or rather than being in a sort of low, dark, vibrational, unconscious, shadowy expression of it, which can also happen. So for me, I'm always interested in how we are expressing it, and then how to bring it up also to another level and to a better vibration. So, of course, the Libra moon, the Libra full moon, every full moon has a Libra undertone already because it is about relationship and balance, and this is the Libra full moon. Typically the one that is close to spring equinox. This time, yeah, probably the closest, or was the 3rd of March total lunar eclipse. One or the other. Anyway, this is the Libra full moon, and so Libra is all about harmony, peace, balance, negotiation, coordination, and the dynamic between people, the dynamic between energies, to create hopefully also a beautiful dance, or even a culture. Libra is about culture, and Aries can be very wild and raw and even belligerent. Aries is ruled by Mars, Libra is ruled by Venus, so here we have the contrast. And we've seen a lot of that Aries action, and in combination with Pisces, because this whole energy field here on the other side pretty much starts with Pisces, right? This is the concentration from early Pisces to early Taurus now with Venus, but it's all happening here, Pisces and Aries. So what do we need to balance? Yeah, we know that very well, what's going on, especially conveyed via the media, which is also Piscean theme, and lots of chaotic war scenarios, and spreading like wildfires. So it's a very raw and wild and precedent. It's a new situation. It's something unheard of that's going on in the Middle East and spreads with its effects, of course, as we know, all over the world. So at this point, this Libra Aries full moon is literally about peace or war, right? And there's so much going on the war side. And the what's another expression of the Aries energy itself, as I said before. Aries can be warrior energy, but warrior is sort of relatively neutral. Warrior also means like standing up for what's right, what's true, and being bold and courageous. Can be also a heart warrior, right? It doesn't have to be a destructive warrior and a killing machine, right? So, how can we express the Aries energy in a better way? And then also the balancing Libra side. Aries energy is very dynamic, it's very direct, it's in your face, it's very alive, bold, and vibrant. Also, it's the energy of spring, it's also newness and showing up in a new way and doing something for the first time. And that's what I did today in a call with my German friend who had never done these video calls before, and it was fabulous to be with her and share very candidly. Is also Aries and very directly, and it was very animated and dynamic between us. That doesn't have to be a battle at all. People, there are people in our lives who stimulate us. It's also very Aries, and so, what would be also a new approach, right, to anything, especially also to the whole war situation? This is another question for Aries, right? New approaches, try something in a new way, and maybe the other person that's a Libra side actually is also game and is up for it, and we can have a really nice a dynamic here with each other. So new approaches. So, not being so, Libra is very strategic, especially the continuum of Libra and Scorpio, right? Because it's about choices, and choices have consequences, and there's strategies going on around that, and psychology going on. And the Aries side is rather very direct, as I said. It's often Aries side acts before they think. It's a fire sign, not an air sign. And that can be very endearing. And it's like babies, right? Baby energy, newborn energy, the energy of spring that is just showing up and being present, right, for what is. So this can be also how about and what would be a whole new way of seeing the situation that's going on in the Middle East, and also what are we doing in this new situation here, in this new um, um, scenario, right? So, what gives me also hope from the Aries side is the fact, I mentioned that last time, that Chiron at the end of Aries has now passed Aries, E-R-I-S. So you can see them both here. I penciled Aries in. Looks like similar to Pisces, but in this case, rather than the connecting line, it's a dividing line in her symbol, right? E-R-I-S. So this is a planetary archetype of discord and division. And she was a goddess who was not invited to a certain wedding. Then she created all sorts of intrigue and started, which was the start of the Trojan War. So we've had a lot of the Aries dynamic lately activated by Chiron. Uh, I'm talking about the last 2 years they were together, but now Chiron has passed. What does that mean? So the Chiron is about bringing up wounds, showing where the wounds are, but also showing what needs healing and how. What is the medicine? So, Chiron having finally passed Aries, by the way, Aries has been in Aries, the maybe she rules Aries. She was actually the sister of Aries. So there's a few here. ERIS is the sister of ARES, and then maybe both rule Aries. A R Yes. Okay, here we go. And so it's they're both very warrior energy here, right? And so Aries has been in Aries, the sign since 1927, 100 years, and will continue to be in Aries until the 2040s. So this is a huge era, a whole century of so much war. Of course, there has been war before, but nowadays also really escalating world wars. We know that, and especially Second World War, and also lately in that whole activation with the Chiron, right? So we're really seeing the wounds of division and that this needs healing in the world, and it creates wars. And Aries, Chiron in Aries is also asking, where do wars start? Or where did this war start, right? What started it? What was the spark that lit the fire and now is spreading like wildfire? This is also where the healing needs to happen. But we also need to examine that wound, right? So to know what the therapy would be. And yeah, so yeah, a lot can be discussed about that. I'm just pointing it out here astrologically. And as I said, this Aries energy is so much uh, countered and opposed by this moon in Libra. In fact, I call also this config, it's not me, it is called in astrology, called this configuration of planets all being here within 1, 2, 3, 4 signs, right? This is just a short segment, a small segment of the whole 360-degree circle is a bowl, right? This is a bowl shape. And then when the bowl has a polarity, in this case the full moon, this is like for the bowl, there is an extension, there's a handle, it turns into a bucket or a basket, and maybe even a Easter basket, because we need to um, resurrect from all this pain and warfare. So much suffering in humanity, and that's, of course, also the Pisces side. And we're seeing also now the vestiges, the last, hopefully, last hurrah or not so hurrah of the Pisces age, where wars have been waged in the name of religion, ideology, and created so much suffering. And so a whole new world, a whole new um, humanity is arising in a new way. And this is also Pluto in Aquarius in combination in sextile with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. It's a new era that's in the making, and it has to do with a more empowered humanity, which is Pluto in Aquarius. So, in other words, humanity needs to come out of disempowering systems. Aquarius is about system. Capricorn is about structures, hierarchies, and all that. Aquarius is about system. So it's a systemic disempowerment that um, it is can only be changed through humanity coming together and not keep looking at those up there and projecting power onto the elite. So it's work in progress, yes. And what's with the Jupiter dynamic, right? So Jupiter between the Aries Libra polarity, Jupiter here in Cancer, now going direct since the 10th of March, and still being stationary, moving very slowly until about mid-April, moving very closely or sitting very closely to Sirius, the bright star Sirius, which is also mid-Cancer, where the birth suns of Canada, United States, and even France are. So if you have a birthday, if you yourself have a birthday in early July, then your sun is close to Sirius. And so it is for these three countries. And all three have to do, at least in its original inception, with liberty, right? Liberty is huge for serious about liberation. It's about freedom, and also how does that connect with Jupiter and the moon, even because the moon rules Cancer. And so humanity and the people and the human family needs freedom and needs justice, needs fairness, needs balance, needs peace. So, um, very important. So, it's also about making choices for us personally, making choices, Libra side, that help us renew ourselves. That is Aries, um, a life that is fresh and vibrant and present and yeah, authentic, right? This is Aries. And that brings us home. That is Cancer, right? So, whatever home means to you. Speaking of Cancer, we have this week. So, exactly, it will be on Friday the 3rd. We'll have Mercury in Pisces, still in Pisces for a bit till the 14th of March. It's been in Pisces forever. And Mercury in Pisces, as it's slowly coming out of the post retro shadow, eventually on the 10th of April, the whole uh, Mercury retro in Pisces spook will fade. And so Mercury will make a water trine with Jupiter in Cancer. That is beautiful. And you can already see the dynamic here in the full moon, right? So Mercury already mid Pisces. She's still got a ways to go to Aries. So Mercury mid Pisces, going to this water trine. This is a T square. That's lots of tension, right? But the water trine, not that it totally um, is balancing this out, but it definitely helps. Um, Mercury with Jupiter. So this is also a different way of seeing situations. Like, for example, with Pisces, the gift of Pisces is also to embrace paradoxes and things are not as they seem, right? So this is also the deception, uh, understanding our own imagination better, and seeing what that does to the need for safety and protection. This is also Cancer. Of course, that also has to do with how wars start, by the way. And yeah, but it is actually a very sweet energy. It wants to bring us back to connections with people where we have a communication, and or we also read something, we learn about something, Mercury, right? Where we just naturally feel connected and at home, and we have a natural affinity, resonance. Yeah. So as you know, right, a sense of belonging. And so this is very supported, and that will be exact on Good Friday, the 3rd. So I also want to mention that this full moon is, of course, a pre-Easter full moon, and Easter being in the Christian world, the one of the few holidays that is based on a solar lunar calendar, sun and moon. Most festivals are fixed in terms of dates when you think of Christmas and so on. But Easter is always celebrated on the Sunday after the first full moon in spring. And first full moon is today, the 1st, and then the Sunday after will be the 5th. So, and then of course everything follows. That is then also, or actually precedes also with Lent and follows with Pentecost. So the spring festivals in the Christian world are rather lunar, but they are of course also adaptations and hijacks, I like to say, of previous Celtic festivals. In this case, Easter or Stara, right? Spring festival. And yeah, and then we have, by the way, we'll have two more uh, spring full moons. This is the first full moon. It's also called in the esoteric tradition the full moon of the risen Christ. And the next one on 1st of May, in fact, Beltane, right in the middle of spring will be the Wesak moon of the Buddha. That's typically the full moon in Scorpio Taurus, and in the Buddhist tradition, it's the full moon in May, which this in this case coincides, and most of the time coincides. And then we have the last full moon in spring. That will be the 31st of May. So basically a blue, so to say, blue moon, blue full moon, and that will be in Sagittarius Aquarius, sorry, Sagittarius Gemini, and will be, it's called the Festival of Humanity. So this is just this esoteric tradition that I like to quote, not that I adhere to it. I'm just interested in these different systems and see how they fit in, and whatever resonates and can help us understand things. So yeah, and this week also on Good Friday will be the square from Venus. Venus is now in Taurus. Oh my gosh, we love that part. Since the 30th, 2 days ago, Venus entered Taurus and will be in Taurus until the 23rd of April. Venus loves Taurus. She was in Aries. She was also a warrior, fierce warrior goddess. Now she can relax into spring and entice us to enjoy the with our senses what the season offers. Venus in her earth quality, earthy, sensual quality, wonderful. And yet, at the very beginning, in other words, on the 3rd, she will go into square with Pluto in early Aquarius. So a square here is a friction, of course, right? So it could be conflict, but it's also an interesting edge, right? In this case, Venus in her own energy field, Venus is strong in Taurus. Pluto is not strong in Aquarius, actually, by the way. Pluto is the strongest, was the strongest in Leo, for those of you who were born with Pluto in Leo, 1939 till 1957. War, post-war, baby boomer energy. Yes, destruction of personal, yeah, creativity and being seen and loved, of course, but also big resurrection with Pluto is destroyer and rebuilder. So it's been a very creative generation. And this generation, by the way, of the baby boomers, especially currently the ones on the early side, in other words, born in the late 30s, even early 40s, they have now their Pluto opposition because Pluto's not in Aquarius. And Pluto in Aquarius, Pluto brings change, right? So in Aquarius, it's about change to humanity and change via systems and technology, power to the technology, yet also a need for humanity to come together and be empowered in this new era. And so Venus goes into square with Pluto. Now, this could be, as I said, a square, is a conflict, is a contrast, could be an edge between just wanting to enjoy life and maybe, being with your loved ones and slowing down, spring. And yet, the Aquarius side is also it can be a system or something is in the way that seems to have a lot of power, and that can be also how things change in society. Maybe you can't even see your loved ones, but you do some online meeting or whatever, right? That's just a very sort of easy expression of a conflict, right? Not really a conflict, but still it shows us something about where things are going. And at the same time, also, so much technology is taking over. We need to also be in nature. That's Taurus, right? And slow down, right? Very important. And then we have on Sunday, Easter Sunday, we have the square from the sun in Aries, where the sun is super strong. It's the fresh spring sun, again exalted, with Jupiter also exalted in Cancer. So this is a big uh, resurrection energy, and this is an enlivening energy. And I trust also that weather-wise, this will be reflected in spring really showing up so that we can actually enjoy and being out with family. Kids are out, and life, nature is coming alive again, and all the families, the human families, and also the animal families are very happy. So beautiful energy of Sun Jupiter, even in square, and because they're both strong, right? And then we have, yeah, that's about it for transits this week. But just a heads up, as you can see, so much Aries is kicking in. Mars will enter Aries next week on the 9th, and then Mercury falls on the 14th. And then the next new moon will be a huge concentration in early Aries and in late Aries. I don't want to bring too many charts in, but just as a heads up, so to say, it will be 8 celestial bodies in Aries, unheard of. And so this energy, April is very animated and energized, especially through all the Aries energy coming in. And let's express it in a productive, positive way. In other words, really showing up for ourselves as ourselves, taking initiative, and being courageous. And life is now, right? This is very Aries, not out of fear, but out of like the sheer aliveness that spring offers. And then we have, yeah, we're currently in the second decade of Aries since yesterday, the 31st, until April 9th. And that is Central Aries fixed, right? So it has an undertone of the fixed fire sign, which is Leo. So this is also very self-expressive energy. And so I know a few people who are uh, very warm-hearted, but also they get a lot of attention through their yeah, very unabashed and very direct and expressive ways. So that's Aries Leo. Then so it would be wonderful for, you know, like creative artists and who do installation or something that is actually fast and is very like action oriented, right? Rather than tedious and a slow process. Then we have the moon this week. Yes, the moon is in Libra, full this evening, 7:12 p.m. And will be continue to be in Libra until Friday, Good Friday at 5:11 a.m. So the Libra energy again past full moon being very much about balance. So whatever is out of balance in your life, take action now, right? Do something to restore balance. And even the Sabian symbols speak to that, to restore balance between the mental, intellectual, maybe a deep digging that you might have been doing if you're very, you know, research oriented. Then you also need to come out of this coal mine, is the symbolism, right? And and do something for your body and for your lungs and for your well-being. Don't be too heady. And on the other hand, if you've been, you know, whatever has been exhausting for you, bring fresh energy to it that is healthy and balancing. And also making good choices, right? Libra is about choices in general. It's also about right relationship. It's also about compatibility. And so being with people and energies that are good for you and they're compatible. It doesn't mean you all think the same, but very complementary. And then we have the moon on Good Friday in the morning going into Scorpio. This is very apropos Good Friday energy, of course, right? So this is about death and suffering and also deep processes and also coming through what had been maybe sitting in the underground, in the background, in the back of our minds, in the shadow, and processing things. And it can have to do with power and can have to do with control ours, theirs, right? Being out of control and all these things. And of course, it's Good Friday energy, right? And often uh, around Easter, the moon will be in Scorpio because, as I said, Easter is the Sunday after the first full moon in spring, and that is typically a full moon in Libra. So, yeah, this year perfectly aligned. The moon will be in Scorpio until the afternoon, actually, of here Pacific, right? Of Sunday, Easter Sunday, 2:29 p.m. And then the moon goes over what I call the Phoenix point. Phoenix out of the ashes. This is literally a resurrection energy. This is also a death rebirth energy. And also, as we've come through processes, we come out on the other side. We see things in a different light and we understand, and maybe we have stories to tell, and we are see things from a higher perspective. So then the moon will continue to be in Sag during this Astro Week until the 8th, Wednesday, at in the early morning. So Sagittarius moon and Aries sun go really well together. Two fire signs, more fire, yes. And when the moon is in Sagittarius, she will actually also connect with Lilith. When is that the case? Um, So I believe that should be on, yeah, it's on the 7th. And Lilith being known as the wild woman. So here in the chart, you have Lilith here, right? It in my system, she looks just like a L in a white box because my, the font is not being recognized. And so this Lilith here in Sagittarius, since winter solstice last year until the 14th of September this year, 9 months typically in one sign. She is about unconditioning. Lilith always is, in my sense, about rewilding, in other words, unconditioning ourselves. In this case, Sag-wise, from old stories, from old beliefs, from old trajectories. In other words, like I know where this is going, right? And it could be also beliefs like religious beliefs, could be also assumptions, could be expectations. All of that is Sagittarius, right? So to actually gain real freedom, because that is the notion of Sagittarius, not being right, but being happy, right? And so Lilith helps us with unconditioning ourselves, and as the moon joins Lilith once a month, in this case on the 7th of April, that is really felt emotionally. So that could show up as, understanding something better and not needing to, um, like, what's the word again? What's the saying again? Don't believe everything you think. No, it's similar. It's not quite that. It's not going all the way along what we thought was right, right? It's also we learn, right? And that's always helpful. But as I said, this week not super activated except for the full moon, of course. But the big Aries activation it starts kicking in from next week on when Mars enters Aries and then Mercury, and then we're moving towards that new moon on the 17th. That will be quite something. I wish you a beautiful week, and yeah, hope to see you or you see me again here on this channel wherever you find me. Check out also um, my Facebook account where you can find posts to the blog articles I write for all these cosmic events, especially like the full moon here, but also for Mars going into Aries and such. And also post them on Instagram if you prefer that. And if you like to get email, Astro News email newsletter, that comes out for every new moon and full moon. Just went out yesterday for today's full moon. Send me a message and I put you on my subscriber list. And of course, you can always unsubscribe if you prefer. So that's how you can stay in touch. And yeah, share this video with those who you might think could also benefit from it. Yeah, and send me a message, post something if you like. Take care. Bye.